Hi everybody, this is Amy Trinidad here, and I just wanted to do another simple encouragement video, and this one is about identifying pride. Um, I'm not gonna go into this whole big thing into it, but just a little, with these simple encouragement, I just want to touch a little bit on different subjects because they can be a big study of their own, but just to make you aware and make you think of some things, and that way you can dig more into them and look for them for yourselves and read the Bible and see what the Bible says, and and yeah. And if you want to send me some questions and you want me to go deeper into some things that I've learned or the Lord's been teaching me, as I've been learning through this, you can always leave a comment below or just message me on Facebook. You can like my page, Amy Serves in South Korea, and we will give you more information or answer your questions. Okay, here we go about pride. Pride, we always know of pride, the negative tenses of people that I'm better than type of pride. We always know, hey, we identify that very well, because those are the people that try to destroy other people. They try to tear them down so they could be lifted up. And that's very obvious. Pride is kind of the same pride that Satan had. I can be like God, and so he did all of that and got into this whole mess. But there's also pride hides insecurity. There's people that just to hide their insecurities. They're not secure in their identity, and so they put this I am this and the standard of living that it's based upon their accomplishments and based upon their awesomeness and living for themselves. And there's also the kind of pride that is kind of a little bit hidden. That it can be obvious or it can be very hidden. There's the ones that seeking perfection. We all struggle with that some way. There's ones that are more obvious than others, but seeking perfection because the way we want people to view us, we want to make sure, hey, they view me this way. Want to make sure 100%. I don't want to do anything that hinders that. Like I used to be that way. It's like, oh, I don't want to give the wrong impression of anything, but you know, people are always gonna think the way they want to think, and just that, even though that seems like, oh no, you just want to make sure your character is known, because I was used to justify it as well. The truth is that it's still pride, because you're living for the acceptance of men. You're living for their acceptance, and that becomes your idol. Men's acceptance, fear of man. There we go, fear of man. That becomes your idol, and I used to struggle through that, and I used to be afraid of speaking up, of saying the wrong thing, of wearing the wrong thing, or just because I wanted to please others and always wanted to have their favor, and not a good way. And kind of, you think about it, it can be a little bit manipulative, and that's not biblical at all. But it comes, it just doesn't have to necessarily be bad in the sense, like, we all, yeah, we have to live respectable lives and respect other people and be respective and, show, portray who we really are. But can be a point that it becomes so obsessive, or that's your life goal, and anything you do, you're afraid to do things, you're afraid to speak things because of that. Then that has a little bit of a pride issue. There's false humility. Oh my goodness, false humility. Whew. That one's really hard. It's very tricky. um you decrease your self-worth and decrease your purpose, and you like to punish yourself, and that is, in a way, you think, oh, that's not prideful at all, but it's very prideful, because you're saying to your creator, God, like, hey, I'm not worth anything. Why do you even do this and that? Like, I'm not worth it. Or you're saying, you're taking pride in instead of taking pride in your worth, you're taking pride in what you're not worth. And God, God created each and every one of us with a purpose, and you're not God to say that you don't have self-worth, or anybody for that matter. Um, so, and there's also the false humility of you're not capable of, like, you think you're not capable of doing wrong. And honestly, I struggled with that a little bit, like, oh, but because everybody's, they say, oh, Amy's so innocent, so naive, blah 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 blah, and I fed into that, and I let that become my identity, to the point that if anybody told me anything I did wrong, I was like, oh, like, it offended me, because that's pride. Pride offends you, just makes you offended. But the truth is, if you're honest with yourself, you're able to confront those things. Like, yeah, I agree. Now let me go to God about that and work with it and have people accountable to help me work through that. But pride, that's humility. But pride, just, you don't want to bow down to it. You don't want to admit it. You don't want to um you don't want to be, what you call it, you just, with pride, you don't want to submit to the idea that, hey, maybe that they're right, or, oh, I have to admit my sins, and that I am sinful, and that I do things that are wrong. Nobody wants to admit that, and it becomes offensive, and that's, pride leads to all of that. But with true humility, we know, and we're secure in our identity enough, we're honest with ourselves, that we are able to say, hey, I do those things, and not being afraid that that becomes your identity, and not being afraid that those things will hinder how people view you. But you are just honest with yourself, and just, yeah. So I just wanted to encourage you with that, about identifying pride and just being honest with yourself. It goes with another video that I did on simple encouragement, but that's just the other side of it. I don't know if that makes sense, but, well, have a blessed day, and I'll see you another time.